Just let us know when we are live.
We are live now.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thanks a lot for joining in at such a short notice. And um, I am Professor Richa Saxena, and I will be, telling something a little bit about the track-based specialization for PGDM for working executives, which we also call PGDM WE. I am joined in this session by my colleagues. So we have Professor Swati Guliani, who is also from HR and OB area, and she is the program co-chairperson. Uh, Along with the Professor Swati, we have Professor Nihar Amonkar. Professor Nihar is a faculty in the SIE, which is the strategy area, and he is the chairperson for the PGDM EXC program, which is another program for working executives, but that is for a regular residential program for working executives. We also have Professor Mrinalini with us, who belongs to the operations area. Professor Mrinalini is a very experienced IMT Ghaziabad faculty, and she has a lot of insights about the institute and the different offerings which the institute is having. So with this brief introduction of my colleagues, I would like to initiate this discussion. So this I'm going to be more on a conversational perspective. So I'll just give you an overview of what this particular program for working executives is all about. And then I will hand over it to my colleagues who will speak about their respective offerings, the area specific offerings, which will be getting into the different tracks for offering you the specializations. And then if you have any questions, you can park your questions either in the chat box, or you can write it to our representatives. We have Professor Ms. Rinku, along with my faculty colleagues who is also joining. We also have Ms. Akanksha, who's helping us with the program. She's assisting us with the program. So we will be happy to take up any questions towards the end of this discussion, which we will be taking up. So since you are right now listening to this particular webinar about the PGDM for working executives, this is one of the offerings of IMT Ghaziabad. I am sure you would have done some research work, you would have done some of your homework in understanding what IMT Ghaziabad is and why it is so popular, or why it has a certain status or a prestige amongst the business schools of India. So just giving you a perspective, so it is one of the leading business schools in the NCR area, and it has a legacy of more than 4 decades. IMT Ghaziabad is accredited with several agencies, but one of them, which is the most salient one, is AACSB, which is a global recognition. And within India, there are only around 15 or 16 institutes who are being given this accreditation of AACSB. Now, what does that it mean? Being an AACSB accredited institute is that one, you don't get the accreditation so easily. There are so many parameters of the agency because this is a global agency. So there are so many quality parameters at different levels: program level, institute level, faculty level, other stakeholder level, which are there. And the institution has to fulfill all those parameters to achieve this accreditation. So that means it ensures that the institute, which is AACSB accredited, has certain standards or certain quality parameters which they have already achieved. But once you achieve this accreditation, the responsibility actually amplifies. So then you also have to maintain those quality standards for the time period you've been accredited. So typically it is a 3 years or a 5 years period, and then the expectation of the agency from you is much higher, and you have to adhere to those quality standards and all that. So it's a kind of a virtuous circle, I would say, wherein to ensure the quality, or to see whether a particular institution is of a particular quality standard or not, you would like to see what type of accreditations it has already have, and that is wherein IMT has this. So apart from other accreditations like NBA, SAQS, AIU, AICT is our regulator. AACSB is something which is a very salient accreditation for IMT Ghaziabad. Now coming to the program, about this working executive program, if you look at the history of this program, probably it is one of the oldest program to begin such type of an offering, wherein, and erstwhile it was the part-time program. So what we are looking at right now as PGDM WE is a new avatar of the erstwhile part-time program. This program has a very strong history of almost 4 decades long, wherein IMT was probably one of the first institutions to have launched such type of a part-time program for the working executives, especially in the National Capital Region. The uniqueness of the program was that it allows the participants to maintain a balance between the work which they are already having, so their professional commitments in their respective organizations. Simultaneously, it gives an opportunity to the participants to go through the contact hours or the classroom sessions during the alternate weekends. So they visit the IMT campus during alternate weekends, and they go through the different sessions, the courses which are being offered, and then there are certain other fulfillments which they have to do to complete their particular program. The objectives are many, but the core objective of this particular program is that since people are already working, so we are not looking at only providing the basic knowledge or skill sets to them about management, but what we want them to is that assuming that they are already working, how they can convert this knowledge which they are going to attain during the program in their actual work. So it's like giving them a cross-functional understanding of management, and how they can apply those understandings, those knowledge bases into the actual work. So that's what the objective of this program. And we also want these industry professionals, the working executives, to be updated with the cutting edge skill sets which are required. So we do our research work, like there are so many platforms which keep on providing the most important skill sets for the decade or for next 5 years. And so for example, you have World Economic Forum, which keeps on doing the research studies, and they provide you a list of the skill sets which will be contextual and relevant in the coming 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line. We go through all such type of relevant sources, and then accordingly we customize our offering so that the participants who are going through our program, they remain contextual, they remain relevant to the industry in terms of understanding and learning the skill sets which are the requirement of that particular hour. Now, as I suggested, this particular program, the PGDM WE, which was earlier PGDM part-time, has gone through a lot of transformation in the last few months. So till last year, what we were offering was PGDM part-time, which was a 3 years program, alternate weekends. and the total credit requirement to be completed by the participant was 90 credits. So in effect, you were doing 30 credits or 300 hours in 1 year. In its current avatar, we are positioning, and this change is not coming through just like thin air. It has come through inputs from multiple stakeholders, and one of the key stakeholders is our regulator, which is AICTE, wherein the mandate has been given by AICTE that one has to really streamline the program so that they become really contextual and they become relevant, and there is no confusion in the market related to that. So that is wherein, with the inputs from AICTE and other industry experts, we have in last few months, we have worked a lot in repositioning the program. And the output of this repositioning is that now this program is called PGDM, Working Executives. It is now of the duration 2 years. And the credit requirements to complete this program is now 105 credits. Now, it is a good news as well as it is a bad news. So I'll tell you why it is a bad news. The bad news is because now it is more compressed. So that means it is more intense. So every year, if you can see the calculations, now every year you have to complete at least 52.5 credits, which is 500 plus hours. That means a lot of effort is required from the participant side. Of course, the institute is there to support you, but ultimately the onus, the learning onus is on the participant. And that is wherein lot of demand from the program is increased. But the good news is that now instead of 3 years, you will be doing it in 2 years. And what you will be getting towards the end is not a certificate or diploma stating you were part of the PGDM part-time program, rather the diploma stating that you are a PGDM. So that is the biggest advantage of this newly structured program that is there. Earlier, there were no professional certifications. So there was general management, and now it is specialization based. So our focus of today's discussion is going to be more around this specialization based, how we have transformed this general management program towards track based specialization program, and how one has to really go through that. There were earlier no professional certificates. Now there are professional certifications which are which are kept as essential, and you'll have to go through that. There were earlier no direct credit transfer courses. Now, as per the suggestions given by AICTE, we have introduced 7 courses from Swayam portal, which is an AICTE approved portal, through which once you complete those online courses on a self-paced, self-learning module, and you complete their evaluation, which is going to be an examination, as soon as you complete that, the direct credit transfer of those courses will come to you. And that's how you will be able to do these 14 credits from there. Earlier, there were no separate Harvard certificate courses assigned to the program. Now there are 4 Harvard certificate courses. They are again online, self-paced, which gives you a lot of flexibility. You have to complete them. And once you complete them, the credit of completion of these courses will be coming to your account. So this is how we have transformed this particular program from a part-time program to a WE program. One of the key criteria of, or one of the salient features of this particular program is that this year, as I mentioned, from general management, we are taking it to a more specialized type of a program. And how we are bringing in specialization is that in the second year, which is your term 3 and term 4, you will be choosing from the 5 specialization tracks. So these specialization tracks are leadership and strategy, IT and analytics, applied finance, sales and marketing, supply chain and operations. Now, these are the 5 tracks from which the participant will be picking up two tracks, and for that when you will be doing that, from each of these 2 tracks you will be doing 2 courses. So there would be certain offerings from the area, like for example, leadership and strategy track is jointly offered by HR area and the strategy area, and we have our representatives from those areas. IT and analytics is again a jointly offered track from IT area as well as business analytics area. Applied finance is more from the finance and accounting area. Sales and marketing is from the marketing area. Supply chain and operations is from the operations management area, from which we have Professor Mrinalini as the representative now. So people will be choosing 2 courses from 2 tracks that will give them certain credits. And to make the major specialization in a particular track, what they will be doing is they will be doing some specialization workshops. So these areas are offering specialization workshops. Like for example, for leadership and strategy, there is the workshop which is people analytics. So if you choose leadership and strategy as your major specialization, you will be attending a workshop on people analytics in your second year. Likewise, for IT and analytics, it is data science and machine learning. For operations and supply chain, it is contemporary issues in supply chain management. For applied finance, it is financial markets workshop. So you can see that there, and this workshop, so this one workshop will bring in 2 credits to you, which will be additional to you. So that will help you in defining your major over the minor track. Plus, you will also be doing 1 CIS, which is a course of independent study. And that you will be picking up the major specialization you are having, a topic on that, and then you will be assigned a faculty who will be, helping you take that particular topic through as a project. And that is how you will be completing. So you'll be getting 4 credits from there. And that's how you will be able to differentiate the 2 tracks which you are choosing. So one will be defined as your major and one will be defined as your minor. And that's what the speciality of this track-based specialization is there. The compulsory workshops here on the screen, which you are seeing, they are the core workshops which every one of you will go through in your first year, and you will be getting certain credits. Now, I request, because there is this particular session is about the specialization tracks. Now, I would request my colleagues to throw more light basis the offerings of their specific areas. So maybe I would like to request Professor Swati to start with from leadership and strategy track. We have Professor Swati from HR area and Dr. Nihar from strategy area. So maybe they can tell us a little more about what type of courses one can expect in this particular track. So over to you, Professor Swati.
Thank you so much, Professor Richa. Can I share my screen if that's okay?
Yeah, I'll stop sharing.
Good evening, everyone. So, as Professor Richa has mentioned, I will be talking about the HRM area at IMT Ghaziabad, as well as the specialization track leadership and strategy. So the underlying belief over here is that, all managers are people managers. So, and as a manager, you have to manage your team as well as manage the organization goals and, conceptualize the organization goals. So that's why we came up as a specialization track, which is combining 2 core areas at IMT Ghaziabad, which is the HRM area or the human resource management area and the strategy, innovation and entrepreneurship area. So through that, we are offering this specialization track called leadership and strategy, which you will be doing in your second year, we will be offering a mix of courses in term 3 and term 4, which I and Professor Nehar will be talking about in some time. But before that, I'll give you a glimpse into your first year and the course offerings from the HR area in the first year. So to begin with, and as you might be, you would be doing your own research. We are planning to begin on 7th of October. So as soon as you join in along with your orientation program, you will have your very first workshop, about which Professor Richa also mentioned regarding the workshops you'll be doing in the first year. So this workshop is your personal growth lab, which is a 2-credit workshop. And the main idea of designing this workshop is to understand yourself and your teams a bit better. So this workshop will have a series of psychometric tests, like, your personality, your emotional intelligence, and so on and so forth. And there'll be an instructor guiding you through how to navigate these psychometric tests, interpret your scores, and also how to work on these scores and take it. If you want to work, develop, get some kind of feedback from the instructor, you'll get all these kind of support from our side. So once this workshop is over, we will also enter into your term 1 by the end of October. And in term 1, along with the other list of courses that are offered from the HRM area, we will specifically offer this course called Organization Behavior, wherein again, this course will also be a fundamental to HRM, which will be an application-based course in term 2. But in organization behavior, we'll take you to the 3 levels in the organization, that is the micro, meso, and the macro level. That means how individuals behave as individuals in organizations, how do they behave in a group, and how the organization structure and design affects the behavior of individuals in organization. So the idea is that, before you delve into any kind of specialization, you first get what is the core of this and get a flavor of all these basic concepts before we enter into any kind of specialization. And then in term 2, we have this course, which is again a 2-credit course of human resource management, wherein your concepts from organization behavior will be translated into more application-based, like HR and HR systems in organizations, like how are they designed, the recruitment process, the performance management process, and, compensation process, how career development strategies are designed in organizations. So the HRM course will be giving you a glimpse into that. And then as we move into your next terms, that is term 3 and 4 to be offered in the second year. Here, as you can see, although there is a list of 4 courses, we'll be picking up any 2, one of which will be offered in term 3 and the other one in term 4. But if you look at what these courses are about, these are with the idea of making our working executives better leaders. And as leader, you have to think about what kind of goals my organization has and how my team's goals are aligned with the organization goals. And we are also kind of aligning that given the current context and how COVID has impacted organizations at a huge level. So we are connecting that with topics like organization transformation and organization change. We are also having another course, as you can see, which talks about emotional intelligence and leadership. Emotional intelligence through research has been identified as a very, very important attribute that a leader must possess. And although you'll get a glimpse into emotional intelligence in your personal growth lab, but this course will be specifically focused on how you as a leader can enable your team and your performance through having emotional intelligence. Then we have this course on managing and sustaining careers. We believe, when we talk about careers, it's not just your job in your particular organization that you are in, but it is a lifetime experience. And even, after you're completing your course at IMT Ghaziabad, you may have different career roles within your current organization, or you may look at career at a larger picture. in a different organization, and you also are responsible for designing career development, enabling your team's career development. So this course will give you a full flavor wherein you will be learning about career as a field, and not just looking at your career, but also your team's career, and then aligning it with your organization's goals, or I mean the larger life goals. And last but not the least is leading and developing high performance work teams, which is another very crucial offering from the area. Performance appraisal and performance management, both in organizations, is a very tricky issue. And as managers, performance appraisal is not just about evaluating your team's performance, but also ensuring that you are guiding your team in the right direction, so that the performance takes it to better, you take the team's performance to better heights, and also align it with the goals of the organization. So in that regard, we have this leading and developing high performance work teams course, and this course will also be talking about not just managing individual performance, but also managing team performance. And then as Professor Richa had mentioned some time back, that from each specialization track, you will be offered a specific workshop. So if you choose a track called leadership and strategy as your specialization track, then there is this workshop, your specialization major track, then you will be supposed to do this workshop on people analytics, which is another 2-credit workshop, and it will be offered in a full-fledged workshop kind of a mode. So these are more or less the basic offerings from the HR area, and these will go into your 3rd and 4th term. And I would also like to give you a brief idea about the faculty members in the HR area, and their brief background, education background is mentioned here. And our team will be aligned in offering this course, offering this track leadership and strategy from the HR area side. If there are any questions, you can put it in the chat box, and I'll be happy to answer them later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Swati. Now I would request Professor Nihar to take up the rest of the leadership and strategy track and give an overview of that to the participants.
Sure. Thank you, Professor Swati. Thank you, Professor Richa. So I think there's been quite a detailed explanation of leadership, in the leadership and strategy track. So I'll just give you a brief about what role does the strategy, innovation, and entrepreneurship area play in this particular program. So I think because this program is aimed at working executives, and obviously that means that we will have a very diverse cohort, with the people from wide range of experiences, wide range of industries coming into the classroom. One thing that we are, in a quest for is how do we develop our strategic thinking and leadership, capacities. So we come in as an area when it comes to strategy. So we have 2 courses in this program. One is the strategic management in term 2, and then we have design thinking and innovation in term 3. So what is strategic management all about? I'm sure that you all must have had your own experiences when it comes to strategy as well as management. So what do we get when we combine both these words? Basically, people from strategy area like to throw in a lot of jargon. But in our area, what we like to do is we like to take that jargon and actually simplify it and make it as easy to understand as possible, because that's what strategy is supposed to be. If it is too complex, then it is probably not a very good strategy. So in strategy, what we do is we start with something called a strategic planning. Now, what is planning? We all know what is planning. So before you plan something, obviously you need to know a lot of information on your hand. So that's where today, we have analytics, we have data science, we have so much of digitalization that is going on within companies. So getting data is not as hard as it used to be 15, 20 years ago when it was a highly manual process. So today you have digital technologies which have empowered you with data. So the first part of strategic management process is, can we get the right kind of data? Is it good quality? Is it going to be helping us make the right kind of decision? Once you get the data, the second step is to analyze it. So what do? Is we try to understand frameworks which we can use to analyze this data. So how do we get to know the macro level environment of this country? Or what is the context of a particular industry right now? What are the trends that are going on over there? What's the competitive rivalry like over there? Then we try to use these frameworks to take that data and create information out of it. So that information is very important for us to make a decision. Now, those frameworks, tools, and techniques which you will require to turn data into information, that is the first part of strategy. It's about frameworks, tools, and techniques. Now that you have the necessary information with the right kind of analysis, what do you do with that information? That's where we go to the second part of strategy, which is strategic choice. Now, obviously, with all that information, you're not probably going to just come up with one choice. You need to come up with strategic alternatives. So having one option is not good enough. We need to have 2 or 3 good, viable strategic alternatives. So now that is where the second part of strategy comes in. So let's say an X organization wants to pursue growth. What is the best way for that organization to pursue growth? Should they internationalize? Should they probably merge or acquire with another company? Or should they just focus on organic development and focus on developing new competencies within their organization? So you come up with these strategic alternatives. That is the second phase. The third phase is the most important and which is probably the most ignored. And that is why I think having strategy along with leadership makes more sense, because the third part of strategy is execution. And a lot of strategies are great plans, have great strategic alternatives, but they are good on paper. They cannot be executed in reality. So the third part is about, can you identify whether your strategy is suitable? Is it acceptable to your shareholders? Is it feasible in practice? So that is where leadership and strategy work together. Because to execute a strategy, you all will know that you need to demonstrate leadership capabilities, to get the right kind of vision across to the people, to get people motivated behind your ideas, to get people to strive for execution, overcome problems on a day-to-day basis, and focus on results. That's where your leadership qualities of being empathetical, being emotionally intelligent, what Professor Swati was talking about, being a person who understands the pulse of all the people within the organization is going to be very, very critical. So that's what strategic management process is all about. So initially in term 2, we will give you this particular overview of how do you manage strategically. Then when we go to design thinking, that is a very interesting course. In fact, IMT Ghaziabad is proud to be one of the first institutes in the country to adopt design thinking on a big way. So we in design thinking focus on, can we solve problems of people, and can we create a human-centered design? So whether you are developing a product, service, or a process, is it human-centered? That is what is most important for us. So basically, design thinking is about stepping into the shoes of your users, whether you call them customers, whether you call them your stakeholders, whoever they are. Can you step into their shoes and try and understand what pain points do they face? And then can you collaboratively solve this particular problem by developing cross-functional teams? So design thinking has been proven very effective ways of solving problems, improving processes, developing new products, creating new services. One small example of design thinking I would like to give you is that of a ketchup bottle. So we all have had ketchup, I think since our childhood, but we all remember the Maggi ka ketchup bottle, which used to come in a glass bottle. It used to always be very difficult to get the right amount of ketchup on your plate, especially if you are eating samosas and you're pouring the ketchup on your plate. You would probably struggle to get it out, and then you would shake the bottle so vigorously, then you would have half the bottle on your plate. Can you imagine how many years it took us to just realize that this is a design thinking problem? And then Heinz as a company came up with a better bottle design, wherein they came up with an inverted bottle so that the ketchup would not settle at the bottom of the bottle, but actually would settle at near the cap of the bottle. And then they came up with a squeezy one, not the glass one, the plastic one which you could squeeze. And that is the way you could get the right amount of ketchup on the plate. So simple things, can help solve customers' pain points, and that is what design thinking is all about. So this is what strategy, innovation, and entrepreneurship area brings to the table. When we move on to the electives, we have quite a few, very interesting electives. I like to name a few. So one is strategies for emerging markets. India, as you know, is one of the fastest growing emerging markets in the world. And India's role, in growth is not dependent on its own performance, but that of how it collaborates with other emerging economies and the developed economies. So in this course, we look at the context of strategies that are working in emerging markets. The other one is sustainability and business strategy. So sustainability is becoming extremely important for organization, even within a developing nation like India. Today, the government is giving huge subsidies and incentives for developing sustainable organizations and practices. So sustainability is one, and business strategy is the other elective. The third elective is advanced competitive strategies. This is a very interesting module wherein strategic concepts are delivered to you in the form of movies. So you are being made to watch small movie clips, and that is the way we try to explain to you certain advanced strategic competitive strategic context. And the last elective that we have is technology management. So here it is about how do we integrate technologies to improve the performance of our organization. So this is what the strategy innovation area has to offer. And with this, I would like to pass it back to Professor Swati and Professor Richa. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Nehar. It was quite enriching, and I'm sure now the participants who would be, considering having leadership and strategy as their major or minor, they would have a lot of clarity about the offerings of the track. Now I would request Professor Mrinalini to throw some light on the track on supply chain and operations.
Thank you, Dr. Richa. Hi, Dr. Nehar. Hi, Swati. Thank you for making the work easy for me. So to the audience and future students of IMT, that's what is MBA program is all about. It starts with the people, move to the strategy, comes to the execution. And the part of execution is where us figures out as an area. As Dr. Nehar explained to you, the life, obviously any organization starts with only two things. You have a strategy or a vision in mind, and then you have people. But then how do you connect the two? You may have many, and today's word, in fact, if I talk about the data, we are nowadays talking about the billions, trillions of the data. So obviously data will be with you. But what do you do with the data? How do you execute? So we'll start with the first course, which is about data, science, and analytics. So we'll be talking about how do you make sense out of that data? How do you fit in the decision models? And then about the execution. So when Dr. Nehar was giving you the example of tomato ketchup, so he obviously was talking about the strategy part of it, but let's assume, or you want to make that tomato ketchup and you want to move that tomato ketchup from your factory to the market. How will you do with it? You will have to collect the tomatoes first. So you'll have to have a tie-up with the farmers. You have to move the tomatoes from the farmers to the mandis, to the manufacturing units, making the tomato ketchup. And you can make those tomato ketchup at your home as well. So cooking is not a problem, right? But packaging is, moving the products is. So the whole set of logistics, executions, supply chain, operations, and that's where the third leg fits in. So the second course will become the course of operations management, which will give you the brief idea of processes, products, how to develop the new products, goes for a project if you're talking about the big, the construction projects or IT projects, so project management, etc. So operations management gives you the brief idea about it all. And then we come to the specialization track. In the specialization track, the supply chain management becomes the first course for you. And in today's time, when I say supply chain management, I practically feel, which I always tell to all my colleagues in all the meetings, that supply chain management in some ways should practically be in some ways the core course for all. Because that's what we have observed during the lockdown time, pre, post, when we are talking about the projects being failed, we are talking about the quick deliveries, but we don't know from where to procure the products, how to move the products, and how later on, when we are talking about the e-commerce, to do with those packaging materials, when we are talking about the sustainability, environmental, and everything being sustainable operations, being sustainable businesses, we also have to think about what to do with those waste, right? So supply chain management will give you the overall perspective about everything, starting from the strategy, how to match with the strategy. Well, Dr. Nihar will teach you about the business strategy, and then we'll tell you how to align your supply chain strategy with the business strategy. And then connecting the dots with how to fix in the rest of the things like your stock, which we refer as inventory, or how to move the products, which we refer as logistics, where to have your factories to the retail stores, your warehouses. So we'll be talking about your warehouse and network optimization. And in all of this, we'll simultaneously will be talking about from where to source the material, from where to procure the material, where to procure the packaging things, where to discard the things, so green supply chain and all. Then in the second, as we say, India is a service economy. So when we are talking about, okay, so, most of the time we feel that the people say, okay, I'm not an engineer. I don't want to be the part of manufacturing unit. So where do I fit in? Why should I study the supply chain? And that's where you need to understand that supply chain is not about the manufacturing. Operations is not about the manufacturing. Operations is about everything. So when we are talking about the service industry in your IT sectors, in your hospitality sectors, and all of it, you have to understand the service operations management. And that's where the second course fits in. When we are talking about developing the infrastructure, so you must be witnessing many projects which India is going through, the infrastructural changes, the bridges manufacturers, the roads, even in the companies, when we are talking about making a new building or taking any of those projects, we need to understand everything related to that project, starting from identification of the critical activities, controlling the most crucial ones, putting the people into the place and identifying the people's strength and weaknesses. So project management course naturally fits in. And then, since nowadays we are talking about so much of our data, so managing a supply chain becomes very, very difficult. An iPhone which you are holding on your hand or the laptop through which you are connecting to us is not manufactured at one place. Some parts of it is coming from China, some parts of coming it from Korea, being assembled perhaps in Germany, moving to some place in Dubai, and then from Dubai it has come to your desk. And in that situation, onshoring, offshoring, how to plan it all, how to measure such data and how to make it optimized one comes into play. So one of the course in the electives will be supply chain modeling and analytics. In fact, you are asked to go through one of the course on online mode, which Dr. Richa explained to you at the beginning, that there are SWAM courses and you will be getting the certificate. So supply chain modeling and analytics, you'll be also going through that. And we'll give you some of the inputs as an internal faculty on the courses. And then comes the last course, which is obviously about operations strategy, where you will understand what is the difference between a general management strategy versus an operations strategy. Where do they align? So the basic facts which we want you to take home with you is you have to understand all of these operations in order to become a successful professional CEO, a leader, and all. So the operations will give you that key. And once you are through with all of these three things, then comes some of the secondary areas, which is like marketing, because everything, once the product and the services are in place, you have to go for marketing and selling, for which you have already exposed to the area and all. So I'll rest my areas and the overall view on this. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Richa.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mrinalini, for giving such a detailed description of the offerings by the operations area. I am sure this would have given a lot of insight to the participants and a better understanding about the different courses which are there, what all is there for them in the track of say supply chain and operations. We already had another track-based specialization webinar earlier with the other area members. So this completes our discussion on track-based specialization. And I'm sure that now the participants have better clarity. They can make better decisions. Of course, once they join the program, have got the exposure to the first year, they will be better able and better equipped to take up the decision on the choice of their tracks. So I think with this, we would like to open the forum for any questions if there are for the particular tracks. So Rinku, do we have any questions here? Okay, so there is one question which is coming up is, will you help us in deciding the tracks? Okay, typically the tracks, just like any other program, the specialization will actually be chosen by the students only. They generally take guidance from their peers, their seniors. Sometimes they do discuss it with the faculty members before taking up the final plunge. So we are available. If you want to discuss at the program level as well as at the area level, the faculty will be available to you. You can take time from them and you can discuss what there is also one element of your own profile. What is your current profile and what type of specialization may add more value to your profile? That will be dependent on somebody, helping you up with understanding, assessing that and all that. So you need not worry about that. You will have enough inputs from all the different stakeholders and that will help you. If any one of the panel members would like to speak about it to give more clarity to the candidate, I think that would be fair.
I mean, I would just like to add to it that, anybody who wants to decide their majors, minors, they can approach any of the faculty within IMT Ghaziabad. So one good thing about this institute is that I'm sure I speak on everybody's behalf that all of us are very approachable. As long as you just come and talk to us, I think we are more than helpful to look at your profile. Where do you have your experience? What kind of a career goal do you have? How do we align the elective choice along with where you want to go? And what kind of subject choices you should make? I think the more professors you would talk to, the better clarity you would have.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that should not be a problem. There is another question related to deciding major and minor. I think it's a extension to the previous question only. Another question which comes up on screen is, when will we get the courses in track which is included? So from the program structure perspective, the track courses will be offered in the second year. But the process of choosing those tracks will initiate somewhere in the first year only, towards the end of the first year. So what are their offerings? What are those offerings? The whole process of choosing your track will come into picture somewhere in your second semester, towards the end of it, because then you will be shared this information from different areas that these are the courses which are available as offerings in different so and so track. And then based on your interest, your profile, you may be asked, given a particular deadline, that by which date you need to choose your particular courses, and basis that your track will be decided, but the courses will be offered in the second year only, right? So Professor Swati, would you like to add anything on that?
No, I think this is fine, because this is how we are taking it forward. That, and I mean, adding to the earlier discussion also, of course, as faculty members, we are available, and by the end of the first year, you will also get a glimpse into different areas and get an idea which courses you would like to take. And when will the courses get decided? More or less what we are telling you, these would be the courses, and you will get a list, and the core, before entering into the course, you would also need to look into the course outline. All these information will be provided by us in the first year itself, so that you make an informed decision.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Professor Swati. I think that explains well. The process will initiate in first year, but it will be offered in the second year, and by the time the process will be initiated, you will have enough inputs from the program, from the different courses you will be going through, that you will be able to make your decision around that. One question I am seeing on screen is about, please explain little about operations. So I think Professor Mrinalini has given a complete detail about the operations offering. If there is any specific point which one wants to understand, I think you can be a little more specific in asking the questions, so that will help us in understanding that what aspect of operations you want to understand more. Am I right, Professor Mrinalini?
Absolutely, Dr. Richa. If the question becomes a little more specific,
which track to choose with the operations? So
okay, well, there is one track which is operations. So
yeah, there is supply chain and operations.
Supply chain and
track.
operations as one track. So you have to choose supply chain and operations along with any other track, like Dr. Richa explained to you. There are 5 tracks. So you anyway will be at any point in time going through the 2 tracks. And within operations, when they choose, there will be the courses on supply chain, courses on SOM, then supply chain modeling is anyways integral workshop for all. And then the courses on operations strategy, project management, maybe logistics and distribution management. So there will be, depending upon how many students are there, how many participants are there, the number of electives will be offered.
Yeah. Yeah. Any further questions?
Any further questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that answers the question pretty well. Are there any other questions which we would like to take up? No more questions. Okay. So that's great. No more question. That means we are clear enough to participants. So I think with this, I would like to thank you all, Professor Mrinalini, Professor Nihar, Professor Swati, to be here, I mean, on a Sunday, sparing some time for this discussion. I would also like to thank Ms. Akanksha and Ms. Rinku, who have actually assisted us with this, facilitating this discussion. And one key person who is at the back end, and Mr. Bhupinder from IIT, who is helping us out smoothly conducting this webinar. So we are thankful to him also. So with this, I think we'll close this session for today. And if any of the participants have any further questions, please feel free to write to us. You have the coordinates of our representative, Ms. Rinku. You can write to the admission team. You can write to any of the faculty members. You have the email IDs on the website. You can write to us, and we'll be more than happy to help you out with any of your doubts and questions. So thank you very much once again. Have a nice remaining weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Richa. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.